All right. President Trump, Elon Musk, the media is trying to divide them. They're trying to split up their mission, tell them it's unconstitutional, illegal, but 90% of Americans like what they're doing. Today, I have a special guest, Jillian Barbary, to help me go through some of the biggest news stories. Jillian, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me. It is so great to speak to you about all of this. And it's a big story out here, of course, in California as well. And I think there's such a misnomer, you and I were speaking about earlier, that Californians are like hippy dippy and wild and free. And, you know, we're not. We want to save our money. We don't want ridiculous spending as well. And especially with what's happening out here, we get incredible devastation with I did weather for 30 years in television. And with the destruction, the fires and the earthquakes and all of that, we want to know what's happening out there with our money. So I think it's incredibly important that we are, you know, informed. Yeah. And to be informed, there has to be that transparency, and there hasn't been.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna jump into some of that because I'm really excited about what's going on. Just some background. Jillian has been in TV, sports casting, radio personality for decades. She's out there in California. Thank goodness you were telling me you could see the fires, smell the fires, but your own home was not affected by the fires?
Nope. In fact, I'm in an apartment. I used to be in a beautiful home, but I lost it. That's another story that we can get into. But yes, I am in an apartment about 4 miles north of Malibu. All of my friends were on a massive street that burned down. Luckily, there are 2 homes on the same street. Rambla Vista, everything burned, but there are 2 homes. I don't know how that happened, but by the grace of God. And it's just devastation. It looked like a war zone. Yeah, they're out there trying to make things normal. They're working still, some of them in television, trying to get back to their normal lives. They can't move back to their homes for quite some time because of the toxins in the air, and that still remains. But it's so crazy. You see this beautiful ocean in the background, but then when you look at the devastation on the ground, it's such a weird juxtaposition. I love it here. I was born and raised in Canada, a very different system than we have here, as you know. And I have been in the United States for 35 years I'm a proud citizen. I became a citizen, not by marriage, by my own merit. And I love being an American. I'm so proud and I'm so honored to have gone through the system legally. And it's you know, people don't realize what you have to do to become a citizen of the United States. It's really wonderful. To go through the process. You come on a visa, which I did through my university. After that, I graduated and I went on a J visa to Miami. And then you apply for, I became a resident alien. And then I was that for a few years. And then when I applied for my citizenship, you study. Actually, I take that back. When I was in Florida, I had to advertise my own job. So you have to prove why you're a substantial person for this job and why an American isn't. And in my position as a host / weather person, personality was a big part of the job, you know? And so they actually audition people that come in for your job. It's a really interesting process. And then they have to go through and say, okay, well, this person, maybe they weren't a good fit. So I did all of that in Miami, but yeah, so I got my citizenship here, and you do it with thousands of people. And I did it at a massive stadium in Pomona, and we all had our American flags, and I cried. I mean, it was so beautiful, but you have to take a test. And I did mine on camera. I was a little nervous, I'm not going to lie. I did it live for our morning show, but it was such a moment. Fox News aired it. I cried. I mean, it's a patriotic moment. You can't really express it to anyone. So this country has been so good to me. And that's why when things fell apart, I got breast cancer, I did chemo and radiation and all that stuff. You know, the last thing you're thinking about is politics. You're just trying to live and survive and support your kids as a single mother. And I did that. And I survived, and I'm very lucky. In the process, I lost a lot of things along the way, but I also gained a lot of things. And so I'm very grateful to that company, Done With That helped me out. And they're like your own personal little doge that go in there and look at your finances and just kind of, it's incredible what they do. They can literally go to, they know the banking institutions, the credit card institutions that are ready to say pennies on the dollar, or just wipe out your debt completely and get you back on track. Like, it's almost unbelievable in the sense that, because you're at home freaking out by yourself. Nobody goes, oh, hey, I'm in debt, I got to sell my house. You know, nobody brags about that stuff. And when the letters come in, you're like stuffing them away in the glove compartment, or you're not answering the phone. It's the worst feeling in the world. But I have to tell you that America is amazing, because everything that came to me and all that wealth and beauty and just incredible, like I had the most beautiful home that I spent 23 years in. Yes, it's gone, but I'm okay, you know, but by the grace of God and this amazing company Done With That, they get you back on track. Okay, I'm renting, so what? I've decorated this place beautifully. It's not the end of the world. I don't have cancer. I'm not going to die. You must put things into perspective. But I do think transparency is part of that, as we were talking about earlier. If you're holding secrets in, I believe that's kind of like a disease almost. So transparency, whether it's through Done With That, you have to be honest with the people there. You have to show them everything, or with the government, right? Transparency. What's happening with our money, our taxpayers' dollars? That is our right to know.
Yeah. Okay. I want to hear more about that. But what are your, speaking of debt, transparency, the government, Trump has basically empowered Elon Musk, this team of 100 geniuses, IQs over 150. They're going in department by department. Have you been shocked at the stupid things that our government wastes our taxpayer money on?
Some of the things are mind-blowing. And, we talk about bureaucracy and red tape and how long things can take. Now I know why. I mean, some of this is absolutely ridiculous, and a complete non-issue and a waste of money and time and our dollars. It's, yes. And it can make people angry and want to rise up. The good news is, if you've got people that have your back, and I come across a lot of people out here that are very angry about it too. So I'm a person who likes meaningful conversation. I don't want to just sit and scream at people or have them scream at me. I like to have a meaningful conversation. What is your point? And let's talk about it. As I said, I'm extremely, I like people with all different opinions. I'm not a confrontational kind of, I feel like we all need transparency right now. That is exactly what's happening. And so this is the opportunity that we have as Americans to come together and say, it's time. And I think that we are going to be so much better for it. I think a lot of people are upset because he's a billionaire and, this and that. But at the bottom, or at the end of the day, we are seeing where a lot of the money has been spent. And to me, it makes me very angry, very angry. Waste of time, waste of money.
Yeah. You've been on the Steve Bannon War Room show several times. I know Steve Bannon, the two things that he's beaten the drum on are about government accountability, transparency, but also on the border. I don't know if you saw this, but the U.S. border just set a record for like the lowest capture day in decades. That's how few people are coming. I mean, Biden was saying, I have no authority as a president. We can't stop this. It just is what it is. And Trump is like, I will end this. And now we just set a record for the lowest. What are your thoughts on them, Tom Homan and Trump now committing to America? We're going to get these criminals out of here, make the streets safe again. Your thoughts on that?
Well, I'm a criminal, I'm an activist for victims' rights here and have been for almost 30 years. I work with Deborah Tate, whose sister was murdered by the Manson family. And for many years, we were told, oh, they'll never get out. They'll never get out. And I said, it's people like you that are going to let them out. With that lackadaisical attitude, no, we have to keep fighting. And fight. This California system is so broken when it comes to criminals. It really disgusts me. I've had to go to hearings where these people who slaughtered Sharon Tate, who slaughtered all of these other people, from Abigail Folger to Wojciech Frykowski and the LaBianca family, oh, they'll never get out. Guess what? Leslie Van Houten just got out. Why? Because Gavin Newsom let her get out. Well, she was 19 at the time. I was a 19-year-old once. I would never stab a woman who was dying and saying, my husband's dying in the next room, please. No, she's out. She's free. I don't care if she's 76. I don't care if she's 86. She did that. She should still be behind bars. Our justice system is broken. So when criminals are out of the country or behind bars where they belong, we were talking about El Salvador prisons. Wow. They've got it down. They know what they're doing. I watched this documentary on it, and oh my goodness, they've got MS-13 members beside other rival gang members in there. They are beside each other. They don't talk. They eat the same 3 square meals a day. It is the quietest prison I've ever seen. It is unbelievable what they're doing. And so, of course, we want that activity out of our country for sure. That makes me very happy as a victims' rights advocate, because we're certainly not doing the right thing here at home. We don't have the laws in place to do the right thing. It really frustrates me, especially in a state like California. What's happening here? It's a joke.
Yeah. Do you know the backstory of how they rounded up all of those gang members?
I don't, and I know it was very quick.
I'll tell you. So the president, I believe his last name is Buchel or Buckley, something like that. Young guy. He wins the presidency, and he's like, okay, I can't get inflation under control because the gangs run everything, and we can't get the economy going because the gangs, control everything. So he's like prayerful for several days. How do I clean up the country? How do I be a good president? And he has this idea that within like a 72-hour period, everyone in law enforcement is going to be on duty. And they rounded up 50,000 gang members in 3 days. They got all the criminals off the street. And then all of a sudden, their economy started to blossom. People wanted to open businesses. People started spending money more. So he did all of this. And then one day he goes into his cabinet and he tells all of them, okay, now it's time for round 2 of this plan. You're all under investigation for stealing money from the government. And he investigates every member of the El Salvador government. This is how he cleaned up El Salvador.
So they were crooked inside. So he got the outside gangs, and then he went inside and got the crooked members of government and cleaned them up from the inside out. Wow, this is incredible. And so see, that's a swift moving. We have too much red tape. We would have to go through this and that and this and that. Getting back to the Manson family had the death penalty. Here we are 60 years later, appeal. What is that about? And now we have DNA. So once that's established, it should be over. I'm sorry. I am for the death penalty, always have been, always will be, especially now with DNA. El Salvador, they move very quickly, arresting 50,000 and not waiting to, impending charges. Nope. You did this. You're a gang member. You're done. You're done. Yeah. I mean, yeah. You're up to no good.
Yeah, you've seen the videos, the picture, that documentary. I mean, these guys, they're covered in tattoos, shaved heads. I mean, they were making life a living hell. Imagine if Gavin Newsom did this. They just went and rounded up all the gangs and then went after all of the members of the councils that are stealing money and making life difficult in California.
Yeah, that wouldn't be Gavin Newsom or George Gascon. That would definitely not be them. They're horrible. Let's get that straight. It's been a fight for Deborah Tate and myself and for all the other victims advocates. It's such a disgusting thought that you have to fight to do what's normal. Like, you killed somebody, but I have to fight to keep you where you should be. What is wrong with that picture? And in doing so, we check this out. For those of you who don't know, if you go to a parole hearing, we have to sit through 8 to 9 hours and listen to what the murderer's been doing for the past 50 years and how wonderful they are at making license plates and training dogs for blind people and how great they are now. Forget that they stabbed a pregnant woman who was ready to give birth. Oh, yeah, okay, whatever. And the baby lived for 20 minutes inside her stomach, blah, blah, blah. And then the family, we get 3 minutes to talk, 3 minutes to talk about the life of these incredible people and how it was snuffed out at 26 or 38 or 42. That's our justice system. It's a joke. So, oh, and the parole board's only 2 people and they're pretty young. So each time we get in there, I'm like, dear God, were they even born when this happened in the 60s? So it's, yeah, and it's not just California. Our system's broken a lot of places. But when you have a state that's very liberal when it comes to crime and justice and order, you're in big trouble. So yeah, it's nice when the sledgehammer comes down, when you see it like that. It's pretty impressive. And I did not know that story. That is unbelievable. It's awesome and good for the people of El Salvador. I know people that have come over and said, oh no, you can't leave your house, or you can't, it's very scary. And, you know, just to put a face on it like that. Wow. I'm so happy for the people.
Someone there in Hollywood needs to make the movie. You mentioned to me, I don't need any names, but you mentioned to me off camera that there's actually significantly more people in Hollywood that are conservative, and there's a lot of Californians that are conservative. I think most of us in the rest of America, we assume you guys are all super liberal, pro Gavin Newsom, Nancy Pelosi can do no wrong. But you're telling me there's actually a large cohort of conservatives out there?
Oh my gosh. So I am friends with some very known actresses, rock stars that if I said their names, of course you would know them. Everyone would in the audience. But yeah, they've been conservatives their entire lives. Some of them grew up in families that had Marines as fathers or Navy. And so very proud conservatives. And I think, you know, especially their mothers and stuff, I think what happened to a lot of my conservative friends was, and they're still conservatives, but when Trump came along, he shook things up. He was different. So they grew up with the Reagan administration and, you know, they loved John McCain, or you can call him a rhino, but they loved that sort of reaching across the aisle and trying to understand and but they loved Ronald Reagan and George Bush. And so, by the way, George Bush is speaking at my daughter's school coming up, and I'm so excited. Yeah, but so anyway, it's all sort of thrown up in the air when Trump came in because he's a disruptor and he's just, you know, he's Trump. I've worked for him. I worked twice for him, and that's just his personality. That's always who he's been. And at first they were like, well, he's been a liberal longer than he's been a conservative. I don't like this. Then they were like, I don't like how he acts. And some of them are older. He's a little crass, but it's been years. So they're saying, okay, this is his second time in office. We're going to give him that chance. You know, this is how he operates and we'll just get used to it. It is what it is. But yeah, I think there's a misnomer that people here aren't or can't be conservative. I did have one girlfriend who's a very prominent actress in movies, and she wants, because I'm just out. I'm like, you know, it is what it is. I mean, I'm fiscally and very when it comes to justice and crime, hello, why wouldn't you be conservative? But I think, and she said to me, well, you know what's crazy, Jillian, you're you. I've been on TV as me for 35 years. I've been in movies and stuff, but I don't, for the most part, I'm this talk showy. She said, I'm not that. People know me from big screen movies. And I think if I were to say I'm a conservative, I might not get parts. And my jaw dropped. I said, that's really sad.
Yeah.
That makes me so sad. That's, I don't know. I just, it shouldn't be that way. but it is, she said. And I thought that makes me very sad. So what you're talking about, Hollywood, you're right when it comes to, I think, some of the casting people, obviously, because she said that. She said I would worry that they would judge me and I would have issues getting cast. How sad. How sad.
Yeah, it is. Okay, I want to go back to something you said. You brought up Done with Debt. They've actually sponsored my show. I think I'm in negotiations for them to come back on. I used to do retirement planning for 15 years. I've helped hundreds of families get completely out of debt, change their life. Right now, because of the Biden administration, it costs anywhere from like $1,400 to over $2,000 a month more to live in America. Americans carry over $1 trillion in credit card debt. President Trump's trying to hammer the Federal Reserve to lower interest rates. So you survived cancer. It put you in a bad financial. Tell me more about that, if you don't mind.
Of course. Yes, I wasn't prepared for everything that hit me all at once. Wow. I had a money manager. Okay. Most of the people do in this business. And because I'm not a type A personality, I'm a performer. You know, I had a husband that didn't work. He just didn't. But I was so dumb in love. I say that with, you know, I'll never get married again. But I was like, oh, I'll take care of you, of course. And I did. I took care of, and my kids, of course, they're number one to me. And I was just that girl. You know, I'd work 10 jobs. I didn't care. I would just want to come home to a happy family. And I loved what I did as my career. It's just like second nature to me. And I'm a super honest person. So it came very easily. What happened was I got called into my manager's office one day and I'm bald. It was my first round of chemo. I didn't realize the hair falls out that quickly. I was like, wow, okay. And so I'm bald and I'm cold, it's freezing, and you gain a ton of weight because they put you on steroids. So I walk in there like Oompa Loompa, and I'm with my best friend because we're going to go to lunch. I'm like, oh, he wants me to swing by. I'm thinking, who knows? I gave him power of attorney. That's how hands off I was. I just said, I don't want to know how the sausage is made. Just make it and, you know, pay the bills. Okay, great. Well, he says to me, we owe the IRS $750,000. And I collapsed.
Oh my gosh.
It was the beginning of my nervous breakdown. So when I say my world collapsed, literally, I couldn't function after that. When people would talk to me, I wasn't there. Mentally, I was like, I'm going to lose everything. That's all I kept thinking about. That went on for years, you understand? I couldn't have a normal conversation. I was never present. I was scared, shaking. I was still on radio. So I would fake it through those 4 hours, go get my chemo, come home, look after the kids, but not be present. It was, I remember saying to him, why didn't you tell me when it was 25,000 or 100,000? I had 2 jobs. I worked at HSN, the Home Shopping Network. I worked at a radio. I was gainfully employed. I could have easily have paid off 100, 200, possibly pushing 300, 700 when that number came out. And of course, with the penalties, it went up to 1.2.
Oh my gosh.
I don't want that on my back. I sold my beautiful home that I had worked my entire television career to have, sold it. I paid them cash. I said, get off my back. I can't take this. I have cancer. It's too much. Plus I got divorced. It was just everything. And I was the breadwinner, you know, I had the kids and nothing, no support. Like it was, and my family doesn't live in this country. Let me tell you something. You don't know your grit until you go through. And I did, but I also had the help of my friends mentally. And I did get through it. But it took me a while to find Done with Debt. I didn't even know they existed, but they literally came and picked me up. And what they do, it's donewithdebt.com. And what they do is kind of come in, I said earlier, like your own little doge. You have to tell them everything. Tell them where you're at, what's happening, what you owe. Lay out your credit cards because they're there to help you. You're not in trouble. Like one of the things you think is like, what? My first question to my manager, am I going to jail? Like but before I collapsed, I said, am I going to jail? Like what, how did I get here? How am I here? Because I gave him power of attorney. Ladies, gentlemen, whoever you're out there, don't ever do that. You must take the time. And now, of course, I don't trust anybody. I'm over everything because you can't. I was the one that was like, sure, I'll do that job. I'll take this job. I'll do that job. And I thought he was investing maybe in Tide, maybe in Apple. I don't know. And I said, what about, did you not invest anything? He said, no. I said, what? I said, what about my IRA? He said, it's gone. And then I said, so what, why was I paying you $3,500 a month for 20 years? He signed my checks for my mortgage and the gardener.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's a lot to have thrown at you.
Shame on me though, for not, I was just busy having babies and working on TV. The ex didn't work. He didn't really, obviously he was the father, but we had a nanny full time, by the way. I digress. So it's not like he was a stay-at-home dad. Anywho, my point being that done with that, swooped in, and they literally put the halt, and they, the letters would stop and the nasty phone calls. And then they just sort of sort through everything. What's the priority? What's boom.
So do they build a system and then they start making phone calls on your behalf?
Oh yeah. And even better than that, because they know all of the inside deals, let's call them deals, that can be made. As a citizen, I didn't know you could call up a credit company and maybe work for this or that, or pennies on the dollar, or just say pound sand because I don't have it, Bannon and I always talk about the fact, and he brought it up one time. He said, we were talking about the enemy, and he said, it's time. I said, it's exactly that, because when you stuff those envelopes away, or maybe not take that phone call, what's happening is, okay, you're a roster, you're a number, and it'll come back up again. It may take 4 months, but it will. And in that time, there will be penalty fees. And so the longer you wait, the worse it's going to get. And it will never go away. It will just never go away, especially if it's the IRS or something like that. So yes, I did lose everything, but for me, I gained, I just wish I would have known about it. But hey, it's a life lesson that I am better for. And when you meet people like the people at Done With That, you realize there's help out there. And that's why I always say, this is such an amazing country. It's a country that allowed me to achieve such a dream. At the same time, I wish I would have never. When I started to become really successful in my career and I got the NFL on Fox and I was getting movies and sitcom offers, somebody turned to me and said, I was 34, I'll never forget it. They said, you need to get this particular money manager and open up an LLC. I wish I would have ignored that person and continued on just paying my taxes like a normal person out of my paychecks and just gone on with life, because the LLC did nothing to protect me. I ended up in what I ended up. I'd still have that house today if I just was still Jillian Barbary, just that girl who it did nothing but bring trouble to me. But the good thing is that Done With That came in and they were able to fix it. donewiththat.com. Now at that point, even though I had sold my house, I was still in, that was just for the IRS. That didn't help for all the other stuff, you see. I still had so much that the hardest part was not knowing, and me being in I was kind of going through cuckoo land. Like, why didn't you tell me? I couldn't get past that. I couldn't get past, wait a minute, what? And he'd go, yeah, there were no letters from the, there was just nothing. They never gave us any notice. So I fired him. I got a tax attorney who does this. Like, this man, he goes to Macau and deals with big time guys that make millions. And he ordered the guy. He said, I'm going to get all of the notices the IRS sent. I go, oh no, he said they didn't send any. He said, I'm going to get every notice they sent. And I was just so dumb and naive. He gets his assistant. She comes out with stacks like Bibles. And I looked and I said, what are those? He said, those are the notices. Again, I collapsed. Just being in the dark, it made me so angry at myself and so just completely confused at him. I kept saying, but why? But why? But why? And they could never answer to this day. So, yes, and we talk about fiduciary and all of that. That's a whole other story. But the bottom line is that, done with debt, man. I am so grateful for them to have scooped in and helped me. It's almost like talking to a shrink. You're like, and then they go, okay, we're going to, we're on it. And then all of a sudden the mailbox doesn't have all those nasty letters crammed in, or the glove compartment, or the phone call stop. And you're like, okay, what's happening? Oh, we got this for this. We got, American Express, MasterCard, this and this. We've wiped out that one. What? Yeah. And some people, not myself, but some people have ended up with money in their pocket at the end of the month, which is just, obviously they weren't in the situation I was, but there are millions of Americans that are in debt, and different levels. Mine is pretty extreme, but there's different levels, right? And, whether you're at a $10,000 level or at $1 million, it's not too late, because if you are at that $10,000 level, just start now before it gets to
get on it now.
100%. Because I wish I would have known. I could cry thinking about it. Like I just said, why didn't you tell me? I remember saying that at 25,000, I had 2 jobs. I was killing it at HSN. I sold a makeup line. I was doing so great. But it is what it is. You can't go back in life because you could just get depressed. And if you think about tomorrow, you get anxiety. So I just stay right here in this moment. And I'm just blessed, and I'm grateful to meet someone like you and to come on and talk about Done with Debt. I'm grateful to see the transparency that's happening now in our lives, in our government. And I know good things will happen as a result.
Yeah. When I went through my own personal hell, yours is up there. Adding the cancer on there really is whew. But when I went through my own personal hell, I came up with this prayer that I said a lot, and I've shared it with other people. But I basically said, God, thank you for not robbing me of my growth, but I'm done growing for now. Right? I've probably said that 1,000 times, because I am who I am because of that growth. And yet it hurts so much. I need to be done with it for a little bit, and it sounds like you maybe went through something like that, where it's like, man, I grew a lot because of this, but the pain hurts so much.
I absolutely love that. And I want to share with you my prayer. My prayer was never, and I always get shocked when people say this, my prayer was never, God, please take the cancer away. I would never be that. I don't have that hubris. I would never. That to me, no. But I would say, God, I know you have a plan for me, and I am on board with it, because I love you so much and I trust in you so much. And I know that this is a rocky road, and for whatever reason you've got me on it, man, I would love to have a little bit of a break, not from the cancer, because I know I've got this. My oncologist said, a good attitude is half the journey. I said, oh, then I got this beat. But I would never, ever have that audacity to say, please cure me. I've had women say that. And I said, oh, you pray for that? Oh, no, I would just say, God's got me. And they say, people say, oh, that means you're cancer free. I said, no, I said, God's got me. I don't know. And then I did the 5-year mark, and I said, oh, God's got me, for now, and I take it one day at a time. And I like that you said that. That's the exact sort of prayer that I asked for, just a bit of a break, but you got me, and I'm on board, and my growth exactly the same as yours. I would have died thinking 10 years ago that I would lose that dream home. Like, I built it from every stud up, every floor stain I picked, every piece of marble. I picked the most beautiful kitchen out. The guy was there measuring it for the marble. What do you call that? A fabricator. I get the call from UCLA. You have breast cancer and lymph node cancer. I was like, oh, And I turned to him. I said, I don't think I'm going to need you right now. He held that marble. This man, God bless him. 3 years later, I said, I'm going to call the Marble Man. And they go, are you crazy? He sold that marble. I said, no, I don't think so. Because I remember he told me his wife had breast cancer when I got off the phone. Sure enough, I call that man. I find the card and the little sample of marble. And I called him and he said, of course I remember you. I've been holding your marble for 3 years. I said, well, I'd love to take it. You are such a good man. I installed the marble. I never got to use it because I sold the home. But boy, it looked beautiful. And I said to the kids, we can't eat in this kitchen. The house has been sold, but let's just enjoy the beautiful marble that it is. And that was sort of the lesson that God taught me. It's about, material things don't matter. It was beautiful. And yes, I had worked for it and whatever, but I'm renting a beautiful apartment now, and it's fine. It's all I need. I went from this beautiful, huge home with a guest house to a tiny apartment, but it's new and it's gorgeous, and I love decorating. And I've made it like a little Parisian flat. So life is good. I just appreciate the moment that I've been given. And I feel so blessed. So it's just a pleasure to be here.
I feel like there's a book title there, like the marvel of life, and then it's crossed out to be marble of life or something.
Yeah.
The fact that worked out, you're still here. That's just really neat. Well, I want to thank you for coming on. I'm going to put donewithdebt.com down below. People can check that out. Again, I'm a big believer in getting rid of your debt, understanding there's good debt, there's bad debt, which one to carry, why they're good or bad, and then just get out of debt as quick as you can. And if you can have a coach or a team that does that for you, my goodness, like you say, it's like having your own little Doge, a little get out of debt genius that helps you get through all that. Well, Jillian, so nice to meet you. I remember seeing you many times on TV, and it's so nice to meet you. And I hope you have a great rest of your day. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you so much for having me. It's great to meet you too. Thank you.